Her instincts had always been that
I made a film that I thought was a lot about looking out, and I wanted to make another film that was about looking in. And like my next project is about looking out and in at the same time.
No balance, no scale, no grid, no convention, no standard aspect ratio, no birthplace, no years, no milestones. This is not a portrait. This is not a self-portrait. This is my reckoning with the conundrum of our asymmetry.
Well, once again, I am pleased to welcome the filmmaker Lynne Sachs to Filmwax. Lynne, I think you are the most, what's the word, way to describe it, the most frequent female guest. I don't know why I draw a distinction, but you're in the top two or three guests I've had in terms of coming on over the years. It's like, yeah, I think you're the one.
Well, I would think it's a testimony to our shared passions and to our continued curiosity about the way one another thinks.
I like that a lot. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're frankly really, you're prolific. You're engaged in the film, space in New York. You know, you I think you're a big collaborator. So all these things are why I almost never have to really make an effort to find a reason to bring you on. You have always something to announce or some project that's coming out and it's fantastic.
Well, I mean, I will say that I think that New York as a community can be very overwhelming to many people, but it's also so much more supportive than people realize. That the kind of stereotype or paradigm is that you have to make it here. But it's actually that you come here and you find a lot of kindred spirits who are very excited about some of the same things you are. And that I don't find it to be a place, at least in the community in which I exist, that we're fighting for a few places, but that we're kind of assisting each other or clapping for one another or,
Rooting.
Yes, rooting. I really feel that. And I felt that from people who are a generation older than I am. And I really do my best to be that way for the younger generation.
I'll come back to my feelings a little bit more about this exact thing that we're talking about in one moment. But I do also want to insert at the top and not bury the lead, as they say in journalism, that the main reason we got on here today is because DCTV, one of my favorite arts and culture organizations in New York City, many, many years, love them, are doing or hosting a retrospective of your film career starting, well, it's going to take place June 7th through the 11th. Lynne Sachs from the outside in. We'll talk more about it momentarily, but I did want to put that right out there. And
I'm really glad to hear you say that DCTV has been a presence in your life. It has been for 40 years for me. And when
Yeah.
I first walked in the door, it was called Downtown Community Television. And it was this idea that television could be embraced by all, and that television was not very different from video art. It was different from film, but now it's all kind of thrown together. 40 years later, we just call it all film. We call it, it's the moving image, and we use it in whatever way we want. But I was definitely experimenting in DCTV, so it's really an honor, and really exciting to take my work back there.
Yeah, so you I think they just only in the last few years celebrated 40 years, right? They're probably coming up to 50 in the next
Yeah,
bunch
something like that, right?
because yeah, I remember that. And so you really kind of connected with them pretty early on, it sounds like.
Well, DCTV was always an outgrowth of John Alpert and his partner, wife Keiko. But
Mhm.
he, at the time when I was there, was a war photographer. I mean, he was going down to El Salvador, Guatemala. He was very much involved in that independent spirit that was both parallel to broadcast TV, but also autonomous at times. And I think that's how he supported the organization in the early years.
Interesting, because it kind of, in a vague way, what they do there and what John has Albert has done there and Keiko is kind of similar to what I was going to say next about how we started the conversation in terms of the community of supportive
Mhm.
community that is the film community in New York, and that part of that is the other side of the edge of the sword, which is how there's no real major industry with cash flow and all this. So we are, or they are, you are forced in a sense to create a your own industry, your own
Mhm.
foundation, your own structure for each other because there's no Hollywood. And what kind of, there's just, it's just not there for a lot of creative minded people who are trying to do something different than the mainstream, let's call it. Um, and likewise, I think DCTV, he could have gone and maybe he already did. I know some of his John's work has been on HBO
Right.
in the early days of HBO, but I also wonder, he could have been a more mainstream war photographer shooting for, ABC or something. Maybe he did do that, but he went a different way
Mhm.
and wanted to
Mhm.
do his own thing and not have that, so DCTV created this alternative, like the film community in New York has created an alternative structure, you know.
It's so unbelievable that an organization of that distinction has kept the same building in a firehouse. They've
Right,
not only remained uh, near Chinatown, near so many different neighborhoods, but yet sort of they're in the center of it all without being in one or the other. It's right off of Canal Street.
right.
It's near the financial district.
Near the
So
government center.
the government, like people can literally walk there or get
Right,
on. I mean, I've made films in Chinatown, which, I've made films in other parts of Soho. I've made films all, around in other parts of the world, but it seems like it's at the vortex of so many things. So then they opened this Firehouse Cinema, which is so fantastic and so well equipped. And it's really a celebration of documentary film in all its aspects. No, not a conventional interpretation of that word at all. So that's been a gift to New York City.
and for more about the Firehouse Cinema and DCTV in recent times, people can actually look up my conversation with Darren Messenger,
Mhm.
who I spoke to a couple years ago when they were uh, finally opening the doors to the cinema, which yeah, like it's just fantastic that something like that can happen. Even during, in a sense, the pandemic.
Mhm.
It's a great thing, and to have a documentary cinema in New York City, it's great. We need a they are going to be, so that's where your retrospective is taking place, of
Yeah.
course, right?
Yeah, so there's 7 programs, ranging. There's a for the first program is performing the real, and I'll be talking to Sam Green after the films, and we chose certain people to be in conversation because we think they have a passion for a certain approach. So I've done a lot of expanded cinema work, and we'll be talking about that play between hybrid work, or work that plays with fiction and documentary. And I'll be showing my film, The Washing Society, and a couple of other films, Swerve, and my very, very first expanded cinema piece, and one of my first films of all, which is called Fossil, which I started making in around 1984, long time ago. And it's a film that uses dance as a way of interpreting documentary material. So interpreting through your body, not just through your intellect. And so it's amazing to me because it's the first time I've shown the film since I made it, and I'll
Oh,
be
wow.
showing it
Wow.
in the place where it was created. So that's kind of exciting to me. It was probably shot on 3/4-inch video,
Hmm.
actually. And then there's a program uh, called It's a Hell of a Town, which is all about the like challenges and of living in New York City, which includes another film I had never shown in public, film I made with my brother, called Ladies Wear. And he and I are both putting on fingernail polish in a very graffitied subway in 1983. And for a
Wow.
guy to be putting on fingernail polish, I guess back then would have been a little surprising, but also to do it in the subway. So we were playing around with gender back in the day, my brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
You were
Um,
cutting edge,
oh, yes.
and remain
Um,
so.
and then we'll be showing a really new film called Contractions.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that
Mhm.
because um, this is I probably either haven't seen all of your work. I know that comes as a shock to you, or possibly a percentage of it has faded from memory. But I don't remember quite such. This is a short work on
Mhm.
the topic of a very uh, as contemporary a topic as one can make a film about, but it's the uh, about women's health. Uh, women's health. It's about women's health issues, specifically, of course, about the most significant part of that conversation, which is on abortion
Mhm.
access, and this is the most, in the way, direct type of subject matter I've seen you make a film about in memory.
Mhm.
Would that be
That's an
relatively
interesting
accurate?
way to put it. So
Because it's so topical, I guess, so very topical.
about a year ago, a group of filmmakers got together, and we decided that we wanted to make films that explored the repercussions of the 2022 Dodd decision, which ended Roe versus Wade as a platform by which we could look at reproductive justice in the United States, and we could say women had the right to make decisions about their bodies. That was ended on June 24th, 2022. So a year later, a woman named Christy Guevara Flanagan, a documentary
I know her
maker.
well. Yeah.
Oh, you do? That's
Well,
good. She's our
I know
leader.
her from over the years, and I met her a number of times. Yeah.
Oh, you might know her in person better than I do, but we have gotten to know each other very well as a collective across the country. And she was calling other filmmakers to make work that looked at communities where abortion clinics had been closed, or where women's health clinics were no longer offering those services, medical services. So one person made a film in North Dakota, another person made a film in Arizona, another person made a film in Tennessee, a different part of Tennessee, and I made a film in my own hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. And I went back to a clinic that is now closed, where women had once gone to end pregnancies they didn't want for whatever reason, maybe their own health, maybe there had been a rape, maybe it had been an incest, maybe they couldn't afford to have another child, which is usually the case. I've read and heard, most women who make decisions to end pregnancies already have children and they know they cannot spread themselves any thinner. It's very considered. So I wanted to look at the situation in Memphis, but I also wanted to do it in a way that would leave the people in the film with a certain level of anonymity. And so as an experimental filmmaker, the fact that I said, I'm going to just show the back of people's bodies was kind of an interesting restriction. And it actually became liberating because people weren't worried about how they looked. They just wanted to be there in body, to speak, and in some sense, to speak with the language of their bodies rather than just with their words. And then, of course, as you heard, I included conversations with a woman who drives people from Memphis to Illinois, because you have to drive a long way to get an abortion.
Yes, you do. Right.
From Memphis and from Tennessee, anywhere in Tennessee. And then I talked to a doctor who also articulates quite beautifully, I think, what has happened to women in the state of Tennessee, at least, which reflects women in 21 other states too, where the right to make choices about your own body has been changed. So
eliminated.
Eliminated, yeah. Yes, eliminated.
But how does it feel, or what's the experience like for you making because typically there's this you have your process, I don't really know too much about it, but how you come to make a film about whatever. The most recent one, or one of the most recent ones I should say, is a film about a father who, which is this remarkable story about your family and your siblings, many of whom you discovered over the course of making the film, in fact. So this one is really topical, like we said, and I'm just wondering, from somebody who I wouldn't say avoids making topical films, but you don't set out to do it.
That really hits at one of the key issues in working with reality. What is your intention? Who is your audience? What do you want as a result of the film? Is there a result, or is it just a feeling? I wanted to explore what would be to work with a group of people in one morning. I shot the whole film in a few hours because we actually had to get together not surreptitiously, but we couldn't even announce where we'd be shooting to the group of people who were involved till one day before, because it's hard to imagine being here in New York how charged this issue is. And in some ways, it was probably the most precarious filmmaking experience of my life. One of the people involved in producing the film, meaning helping to find participants to be in this film, arranged for 14 volunteer marshals to be there to watch over us in case there was any trouble, which there was not. So we had to be kind of in and out of a public, or it wasn't a public, but a parking lot in front of an empty building within about 4 hours. Cars were already starting to slow down and watch us, and we just didn't want any problems. It's a very alienating world to be in as a woman, to be somewhere where people are going to practically assault you for making decisions strictly about your own body.
Well, I would say I wouldn't even couch it like I wouldn't even what's the word, kind of, soften it. I would say that it is an assault.
It is an assault. Yeah. And but even in New York, I was just in front of a Planned Parenthood building at Syracuse, and you have to walk through a crowd of
Right.
so-called
Assaulters.
protest assaulters. Yeah, yeah.
Let's just say whatever.
So yeah, I really didn't know. The big question was, I trying to convince people? I didn't think anybody would watch this who didn't already agree with us, but we premiered the film at the True Falls Film Festival, and it was so affirming after the film festival, which was in Missouri, Columbia, Missouri, to be walking around the town with my cousin Laura, who helped me produce the movie. Her name's Laura Goodman Brian. We were walking around, and women would run across the street to talk to us and say, "Thank you. You're the Tennessee filmmakers, right? Thank you for making that movie." And we were just exhilarated, and we thought, this is why we made it. The film is actually going to be on the New York Times website beginning the week of the 2-year anniversary. That seems like a troubling word. 2-year anniversary of the Dobbs decision
In June.
In a few weeks.
Right,
And
which is in June.
we're prepared. Yes, in June.
Very exciting. What's the name of that online New York
It's called
Times
OpDocs.
OpDocs, that's
Yeah,
right.
and I never imagined showing a film there, but I think they're actually starting to show more experimental films. And they told me that one of the most popular films is a very experimental film.
Very cool.
So,
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, again, the series, though, the retrospective,
yeah.
I should call it, rather than a series, um, it will be at DCTV it's on Lafayette, just south of Canal Street. I mean, I should by now know the address. I've actually collaborated with them over the years so many times. 87 Lafayette Street,
Thank you for
which is,
mentioning that.
of course, which is like we said, it's in this firehouse, which is where it's been for over 40 years. And the name of this retrospective is called From the Outside In.
And actually, the curator, Dara Messenger, who's just
Dara.
amazing and
Yeah,
so enthusiastic. You were
I know.
mentioning her
I
earlier.
adore her. I adore her
Yeah,
and have for
she
many
came
years.
up with the title, and because she was thinking about films that I've made that are very much about communities that I may not know very well, but I'm trying to explore, and then down to the kind of micro study of my own family. So and so she was looking at that trajectory as a kind of journey that many artists are trying to grapple with, how you, whether you ever come inside or whether you just stay outside your own life, your domestic universe. We'll also be having a conversation with the filmmaker and deep conceptual thinker, or Naeem Mohaiman, who teaches at Columbia University. We'll be talking about protest films because I've made quite a few that deal with that. We'll be showing the film where you are one of the featured performers, Tip of My Tongue, and I'll be in conversation with Tabitha Jackson, who's a great supporter and advocate for documentary film. And so it's a
No,
whole.
but that's not the Tabitha from Sundance, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is her? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Some heavy duty folks there. That's great.
She's not at Sundance anymore, by the way.
Oh, she isn't?
No.
Okay.
She's moved on.
Um, and of course, we wish her nothing but success. She's already making very good choices about her career. Obviously, if she's involved in this retrospective, that's for sure. Wonderful. And she's right because she's oh right, you would know her through also, of course, Kirsten, right?
Exactly.
Sure. Right. It all starts, the synapses start kicking in even at 9:30 in the morning. I mean, well, I'm very excited. Oh, so you're showing you're showing kind of just about everything. I mean, well, I
I'm
shouldn't say
showing
that.
half the film because I've
Oh,
made
half of
about
it?
50.
Because you're kind of relying that they'll do a part two soon, because the people will be so hungry for Lynne Sachs
Oh,
films.
maybe. But I make a lot of short films, so 50 is
Right.
not that hard when you make. I even have
That's
one
right.
film that's 90 seconds, perfectly happy with that length. That's from 90, 84 minutes is my longest film.
Is that true?
And
Which one
yeah,
is that?
tip of my tongue, the one you're in.
That's your longest film?
Yes.
See, if you edited me out, it would be back in the middle of a. So you might want to
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that both my brother, Ira Sachs, and my sister, Dana Sachs, will be at the screening on June 11th for the conversation around film about a father who. So I actually have had a really good time inviting certain people to come and be in conversation. And Dara and I worked hard on that. And they're actually also creating a monograph, a small
Oh,
book.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get that. Um, Wait, so what day is the film about? What day
Film
is
about a father who is June 11th.
okay? And the tip of my tongue, just for personal,
Is June 10th. Maybe you'll come down.
June 10th.
If you think you'll come to Accra, Shep will be there, and I'm really
I
thrilled about
know.
that.
Yeah.
And I'll just say now, if you come down, I would love for you to be a special guest and be in conversation with us, with
Oh, that's.
Tabitha.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm very excited for you, and I think finally, I mean, well, it makes sense with DCTV because it even says in the description here that it's about 40 years ago where you were taking these film classes at DCTV. Were you taking them there or were you giving them? That's the
Oh, no,
question.
no, no, taking. I
Taking,
still had plenty to learn.
right. Well, people should check out, and then they can check out more of your short works that aren't in the retrospective, probably I'm guessing, either on your website or
Website, I have 7 films on the Criterion channel, so people can look around.
congratulations.
Thank you.
And let's just keep the conversation going, is my suggestion.
Thank you, Al. Thank
Meaning,
you so much for doing this, for
that's
Filmwax, Adam, and for your constant, I will say it again, your constant curiosity and enthusiasm.
well, thank you. And and affection.
Affection,
I have a
for
lot of
sure.
affection for yourself and your family. And yeah, I'm gonna shout from the rooftops about this retrospective. So good luck with it, and
Thank you.
we'll do it again real soon. All right.